Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here today in Seoul, South Korea. And I'm here after a wonderful tour with Imperial Tours, and these are the two principals of Imperial Tours, Nancy Kim and Guy Rubin, are managing partners of their company. And the secret is, I actually have traveled with them before, and they showed me China, but that was a while ago. And now they showed me South Korea, and it was a wonderful trip, and we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more on Insider Travel Report. First of all, Nancy, it's great to see both of you. It's wonderful to get together. I see this guy a few times, but we usually go to football matches and things like that. But actually to be traveling with you here again in really what is a pretty new venture for you. You sold China for how many years?
Since 1999.
Okay, since
quite a long
1999.
time.
And then, but you've only sold South Korea since 24, right?
Exactly. We officially launched in the summer of 2024, but started researching so on and so forth a couple of years before that.
Yeah, and what was the reason why you turned? I remember when you told me you were going to do that, and there is a reason. One reason is you are a Korean American, right?
Correct. So I was lived here actually until I was 5. Grew up in the States, but my father always lived in Korea. I have lots and lots of family here, and I studied here in my late 20s. So obviously have a much more stronger connection to Korea than to China.
Even
in
to
some
China,
ways.
yeah. And you two met, I know the story goes that you met in Beijing learning Mandarin, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yep,
Yeah.
in 1997.
Right.
Yeah,
And
we
then you
learned.
decided to go into business, and you end up getting married and having kids, right?
Yes, exactly.
And now the kids are not kids anymore,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So now this was time for a new venture, and I'm sure, Guy, you've been interested in this because you're learning all about Korea through Nancy as well, but you're finding more stuff on your own, right?
I don't want to start boring everyone with my interest in Confucianism and everything, but it is really interesting to look at China from Korea. So Korea is very, very, very Confucianist, more so than China, and so there's a lot to learn. Yeah.
Let's talk about the trip that we just experienced, and it really was a snapshot. I mean, I'm over here for a conference, and I decided I was going to come here anyway for the conference, but then I suddenly realized you guys sell South Korea, and I called you up and very kindly, and I was part of a group, a small group. We were only a small group, but let's talk about what we experienced here. We started out in Seoul, right?
Correct. So Seoul is the most important city, and where everything in modern day Korea happens. And so started here, and it was really about giving you a different experience throughout the trip, not just of the cities and the sites, but of all of the different experiences that we can offer.
Yeah, and we went to it's a Hutong, is that the village? Yeah.
So it's actually Hutong is in China.
Oh, Hutong. I'm sorry. I meant I got to get my right.
And so it's what we call Hutong in Korea, or the Hanok.
The Hanok. Okay, I got to remember my terminology now. So the Hanok, and these are wonderful older buildings with all decorated. And we went to the first thing we did was go to one that was actually a sort of a monument, right?
Yeah, so it was one of the most historical Hanok villages in Seoul, where the nobility used to live during the Joseon Dynasty, and the government, I think, is trying to preserve this area. Yeah. So lots of Hanoks, their courtyard homes that are preserved and have been turned into small sites, but also some that have been turned into cafes or little boutiques. So quite a fun area to go.
We're finding out. We were just today seeing more of those, and then it took me to sort of a touristy Hanok. Where actually they filmed at least K-pop Demon Hunters, which made me a hero to my 4-year-old who loves K-pop Demon Hunters. And you pointed out, I think you're the one who said, "Go take this shot," right?
Yeah, I have to sheepishly admit I'm one of the middle-aged men that also likes K-pop Demon Hunters. So yeah, I know all the top K-pop sites, also in Bukchon, where I made you take that photo for your 4-year-old grandson.
He knew right away, believe me. And then, of course, we were in Seoul, and we had a wonderful time here just for one night. And then we took, I did not know there are high-speed trains in South Korea, right?
Yes, I think they're.
Although, wait, no, I'm sorry. We took the bus down. We took it coming back, but it was about a 3 to 4 hour trip down to, and where do we went to a temple, a Buddhist temple, right?
A Buddhist temple called Pomosa, which is a very important temple in just north of Busan. And so we went there with an expert in all things Korean.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about religion, and you had several long discussions as well with him, right?
Yeah, I mean, the guy knows everything there is to know, from Buddhism and Confucianism and Taoism to mountain spirits and dragon kings and everything animistic.
And most of these Buddhist temples are in the mountains, up high in the mountains, because they had to sort of get away. That's where it was, where the religion was.
Exactly. During the Joseon Dynasty, it was explained to us that Buddhism was actually outlawed, and so a lot of the Buddhist monks had to escape into the mountains, and so the best Buddhist temples are still in the mountains of Korea.
This is incredible. You're going to hopefully see some shots as we're talking about that. It was an amazing. We had to, and we spent a lot of time down there, and then we kept going. We went down to a city that I sort of know the name, but I didn't know the history. Busan, right?
So Busan really exploded after the Korean War. Right. So after '53, all the refugees came down, and since then it's turned into the major shipping port for South Korea. So a lot of stuff goes in and out. It's just exploded, and it's kind of like the Miami of South Korea, with lots of new architecture, beaches. Lots
big beaches. We walked along a beachfront, and the beach is huge. And more to the point, it reminded me more of San Francisco, with the bridges and everything else. And it was just a really lovely, lovely place. And we traveled all over that place. And then, of course, we went to the markets, the seafood markets. And then we actually chose. I don't know. Did you choose, or you?
We have an expert who takes us there, and so she helps us choose what's the freshest and how to prepare it. Yeah. And the way it works is you choose all your seafood in the market, and then you go upstairs and they cook it for you.
Yeah, it was a marvelous experience, and I've done a little bit of that in other cities in Asia, but this was perfect. And you go choose your live seafood, and then you cook it, and it really was an incredible time. And then we stayed in Busan some more, but then we went up to, what was the royal tombs that we went up to after
So we went to a city called Gyeongju, which is the historical capital, was the capital of Korea from the even before the 1st century, all the way up until the 10th century. So really important historically. And so we went to see first what were the tumuli of the royal family.
These mounds, they built, they put rocks over the tombs, and then they put earthware over the tombs. Yes. And so it's like this whole area that's little rolling mountains, right?
Exactly. So it does look like they're natural, and it looks like little hills, but in fact they are hundreds of tombs.
Yeah, and so we were up there for the entire day. You didn't go with us that time. You stayed home, right? You had to work, right?
I had to do some work, I'm afraid. Yeah.
But and then, of course, the thing that you missed was this incredible dinner that we went to in an incredible, beautiful restaurant. You're going to see some of it on, and it just was really awesome. I mean, it was one of my favorite parts of the highlights of the trip, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so a historical courtyard, but on a more elaborate scale, and just a beautiful, sort of very unique dining experience.
Now, we had a lot of other experiences, amazing stuff, but then we did get on the high-speed train to go back. It's about 2.5 hours, I believe, right? Is that?
It took about 2.5, 3 hours, quite comfortable. We were able to get all our work done.
Yeah, and I did. I worked the entire time, so like that. But yeah, and then we got back here to Seoul, and we weren't done. So that we had more food, and I got to tell you, I keep saying I love food tours. This tour was really a food tour.
Yes, well, food, Guy will say that all I talk about is food, and Koreans, that is sort of the national pastime. And so for us, you can't have a tour without eating lots of great food.
Yeah. So we did that, and it was just another wonderful meal. And then last night we went to some really trendy restaurant with it's a Korean Los Angeles-born chef. Yes. Who is into fermented foods, if I recall. And you were having a little bit of fermented foods there, right?
Well, I've been into fermented foods for a few years now, and talked to you about Zoe.com. Right. But yeah, so I do it at home, but nowhere near as good as Austin at making those fermented chow.
And we actually sort of had a chef-guided. Yeah. I didn't expect that. I thought that was amazing.
Well, I think he's a great guy and sort of, passionately believes in what he's doing. And so every time we go there and we bring guests there, he's really happy to talk about his journey, why he became a chef, why he cooks the food that he does. And so I think it is a special experience.
It was an incredible experience. And then one of the things I forgot, you do a nice job throughout these tours of juxtaposing the old and the new. And I remember we were looking at the small, all of the historic stuff in the morning once in Seoul, and then we went to these incredible stores that you were waiting for us. The stores. Talk about those two stores.
Yeah. So it's an area of the city called Seongsu, which people refer to as the Brooklyn of Seoul, and it was an area that was actually factories and car repair shops. Right. And became very popular, and now there's lots of boutiques, cafes, and one of the largest Olive Young shops, which is a K-beauty shop, and so people love going there and just seeing all the young people walking around, and it makes you feel a bit young, right?
It was multi-level, and I don't know how I would ever choose all the different facial treatments and things like that. And then we went to an incredible place where all they do is sell eyeglasses, but they do it in such an unusual way that and it was just an incredible, and everybody goes and they look at these incredible exhibits and statues and things like that, and maybe they buy some eyeglasses, right?
Exactly.
Well, that's some of the eyeglasses. I'm gonna have to refashion myself, I think, after that one. That was so that's the example. And then finally, this last day, we did kind of the same thing. We went in the morning to a traditional, what do you call it?
Hanok.
Hanok.
Yes.
Where the wonderful woman makes these silk. What would you call them?
So it's the art of jogakbu, which is a traditional craft where they take, it's Korean patchwork is maybe the easiest way to describe it, but she's an artisan, and so she explained to us the history of this craft and showed us some of her pieces. Yeah.
And then you got a break. You got to go shopping.
Yes.
And we got to go to art galleries, and it was a lot of different art galleries to see modern art, Korean, and that was pretty impressive, right?
And the theme was basically what you just touched on, which is mixing the past and tradition with what's now and modern and contemporary.
Oh, and then one more I want to point, because we went to several of them, and we actually talked to the artists I talked to several who spoke excellent English. You had to drag me away from one. But then the last experience I want to talk about, because I don't know how I would have set it up myself, is we talked to a young woman who was a defector from North Korea, and you serve as our translator, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, I think the modern history of North and South Korea is quite an important one, and a lot of companies go to the DMZ, and which for us isn't the most exciting experience, but so what we do is arrange a meeting with a North Korean defector, and then in that way you actually get to speak to somebody who's lived there and can talk to our clients about what life there was like, why they left, and their lives now.
How they left, and it's an extraordinary story. I think there is a Netflix program about her story, and she's a very young woman in her 30s, doesn't look it.
Yes.
She's just really an amazing person, and is extraordinarily wonderful to talk to about this situation. It's such a tragedy that this country has been separated for so long, and yet you see this story and you kind of get a better feeling about things when she can be here. And she was actually, I think she was pregnant.
Yes.
And this is her second kid in here in Seoul. So that was amazing. So I want to first of all, what's to come for both of you? You have the two businesses now. You have China, right?
Yeah, China's still going strong. Yeah,
and
so
then,
that's
and then you
carrying
have
on.
South Korea. Right?
Yeah, and for us, both countries, it's just about continuing to research interesting experiences for our guests so that they get a real sense of the countries as opposed to just being a tourist here. Yeah.
Well, I think you do that very well. You did it really well for me in China. I still remember that was you introduced me to China, and I'll always remember that trip. That was an incredible trip. And now you've introduced me to Korea. Where else are we going now? Where do we go next?
Well, yes, there are always ideas.
I think you're going to keep doing this. And you know what? And also, you got to realize, South Korea is hot right now. The food, the K-pop, the music. We said, just the films, the TV shows. I mean, during Netflix, we all started watching Korean TV shows. And I think there's a fascination with it. So I think you kind of lucked into this. Well, you didn't luck into it because you were born here and you also lived here for a long time, and you speak excellent Korean. I don't know. How's your Korean?
Needs a lot of work. Yeah.
Well, your Mandarin's still pretty good, yeah. It's just such a hot button, I think, destination right now, and it's a good juxtaposition of having China and South Korea, right?
Yeah, definitely. And so, yeah, really interesting. I think for Guy, like he said, there are a lot of similarities, but also differences. So it's nice to be able to introduce guests to both places.
Well, you had to find some other food for him to eat because he gets into all the food and you were just it was marvelous. I mean, I can't. We were stuffed. We had wonderful lunches, wonderful dinners. And it was just the way you found these places. We would go into alleyways and walk up stairs, and I'm like, "Is this a restaurant?" And sure enough, it was. So, and then we had wonderful. Oh, your rice wine and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's so much to explore in Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, conceptually as well, like what you were talking about with the retail outlets in Seongsu.
Yeah.
I mean, conceptually, it's ahead of the game.
I think so. It's a beautiful modern city. We're actually in the middle of a beautiful park, and there's skyscrapers over here, and now I see a big balloon up above us. So
Seoul, my soul.
Seoul, my soul.
Yeah.
But again, I want to thank both of you. I'm so glad I remembered because Guy had told me that you were doing this, and that I got a chance to experience this wonderful country with you.
Thank you so much for coming. Yeah.
I'm happy to you. Great to see you, and hopefully we'll get together soon somewhere in the world.
At some soccer match soon. I hope.
Some soccer match. Well, we can't do it now anymore in the UK. He and I used to go to every year somewhere, but now and we talked about doing Korea, right?
Yeah. Asian season, summer season. Let's go.
Let's next time. Again, thank you so much, and we look forward to much more from you. Imperial Tours to come.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.